It's episode 7 of Jerky Time, and it's also day 14 of self-isolation. So we've now been keeping to ourselves, but we're all, at the moment, seemingly healthy and safe, and I hope this finds you all the same. Tonight we're going to be making a jerky with marinade that's called Cowboy Jerky. I'm a little suspect of it because there's no liquid aspect to it at all. It's all dry ingredients. And these ingredients are 1 teaspoon of salt, 1/3 of a teaspoon of black pepper, 1/8 of a teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground cloves, 1/8 of a teaspoon of cumin, 1.5 teaspoons of curry powder, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, and that is per pound. So we're going to have about 2 pounds. We did get a good cut of meat this time around. The last batch of jerky didn't last very long because of all of the marbled content. The fat doesn't hold very long when it's like that. So I've got some really good lean meat, and we're going to get it cut up and marinating in the dry goods tonight. So we'll see how this turns out. Like I said, I'm a little curious with it all being dry, but so we're going to follow sort of a mixed process this time for processing the meat. We do have, like I said, a good choice of beef this time. Our grocery stores finally were able to restock after the first week of panic buying, so everything's fairly good over there. So we're going to do our standard slab and slice, but we're also going to slice that a little thicker, and we are going to do the meat hammer at the end after marinating before we put it on the dehydrator. So we're going to try both combinations. We're going to keep tweaking that process until we get something that we think is perfect, and hopefully won't be too long in that search. So I'm going to get the meat out. We're going to go ahead and cut it up, and then we're going to marinate it, and then tomorrow we're going to dehydrate it. So hang on, here we go. Alright, so this time around we've got a bottom round roast. This is about 2.5 pounds. So if I don't feel like I come up with a lot of fat from this, I'll probably adjust the mix of the, I guess we're going to call it a rub, not necessarily a marinade. So we're going to adjust that to make sure that we have enough of it to cover all the meat. Alright, so here we go. Pretty good looking piece of meat there. We'll go ahead and defat it first. It's pretty good. Not much marbling at all, so I think this is a very good cut here. Right, so I do believe we got as much of the meat out of that as we can. This looks like a pretty good slab of beef to work with. I'm pretty happy about that. Well, let's just cut it up into fairly thinly sliced pieces. As I said, we're going to hammer this at the end, so we'll just kind of come up with some nice, efficient cuts here. Alright, and there we have it. Meat's cut up. Looks really good. I really am happy with this cut of meat. We're going to go ahead and make the rub, and then we'll, I guess, put it in the bag. We'll see how it works out. I don't have my standard Corningware bowl, but I've got this Corningware stoneware bowl. So we're going to be using it. I'm going to put the mix in, the dry mix in, and stir it up really good. And then I guess put the meat in it and kind of, toss it around a little bit. And then we'll put it in the bag and let the juices soak up the spices. Alright, so what's first on the list? First thing is 1 teaspoon of salt. So, again, doubling the recipe, we've got a solid 2 pounds of meat there. So that'll be 2 teaspoons of salt. And 2. 1/3 of a teaspoon of black pepper, so that would be 2/3 of a teaspoon. We'll just use the teaspoon, make a good guess at it. Does that feel like 2/3 to you? I think so. One-eighth of a teaspoon of cinnamon, so that makes a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. We have the cinnamon in these nice little tins. We're going to have a special video on how I'm doing my spices here now that we moved into the house. So there'll be a nice little special on that coming up, as well as something else, another hack I'm doing for the spice environment. Cinnamon is good. Okay, 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Cinnamon's a strong spice. I want to be a little careful with that. All right. 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves. Quarter teaspoon of cloves. Okay. 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. Okay. Quick explanation about me and cumin. Cumin to me is extraordinarily strong, and to me it smells like bad body odor, and it tastes the same. So I'm sure it has its purpose, but I tend to always cut the cumin amount in half. So it says for 2 pounds, 1/4 teaspoon, we're going to do 1/8. So just a touch. And 1.5 teaspoons of curry powder. So that makes 3 teaspoons of curry. So curry is a major ingredient in this rub here. So I'll get this curry powder. Fortunately, it's got a couple of extra things in it. It's got turmeric, paprika, and fenugreek. So it's not pure curry powder, but I don't think the other one's gonna hurt. So 3 of these. Also, just FYI, I'm not a big fan of curry, so kind of cringing at this a little bit. Personal choices. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. Now, we have frozen ginger. These are each 1 teaspoon apiece, so I'm going to take 2 of these. I'm going to thaw them in the microwave, and then we'll drop them in here. There's the ginger. All right, that's moist, so that's going to be sticking. Hopefully, not too bad. I'm going to stir that up. But let's go ahead and just pop it in here. And we'll just pop it right in the bag. Alright, so I worked to get all the mixture. There's still some that's still in the bowl, so we're going to pour that in the bag. Then I'm going to seal the bag and I'm going to mash the stuff around a little bit. I guess then we'll just take the air out and see how it goes, but first I'm going to wash my hands. Alright. Get the bag sealed up and do a little meat swishing around. Definitely a dry rub. That is for sure. do think it's getting all over it though, so it feels like it's the right amount. I think it's going to be interesting. You can smell that cumin, I say. Probably didn't hear a word I said. Anyway, let's go ahead and get the vacuum going. Should get a much better seal this time since there's no liquid in it. Alright, looks like we got a really good seal. And, alright, so, a non-liquid marinade, a rub, if you will. Very tightly vacuum packed, and we're going to let it sit overnight. And we're going to pull it out tomorrow, we're going to hammer it, we're going to put it on the dehydrator. So, come on back tomorrow, let's see what happens. Alright, it's Saturday. It's time to get this on the dehydrator, and looking forward to it. Needing a good batch of jerky here to lift our spirits. It is now day 15 of our self-imposed isolation, and we are still doing stuff to keep ourselves entertained and busy, and this is part of it. So, what we're going to do now is we're going to take the meat hammer to this, to these cuts, and then put them on the racks. Now, this of course will be much less messy than any other previously because it's a dry mix of the spices, but you know, I don't know, let's see what happens with it. Ooh, you can smell that curry, I'll tell you what. Grab a handful out and lay it out here. Pound the hell out of it. Still questioning the name of this Cowboy with all the odd ingredients. Non-cowboy like curry and stuff. Alright, this is a walloping. Alright. And there we go. Keep going. Alright, there we have it. Loaded. Looks delicious. I think it's going to be a good batch. So, let's go ahead and get started on this. I think it's going to take a little bit longer than normal. It's fairly thick, but it's dry. You know, it's not soaked up all that moisture from a wet marinade. So, let's fire this up. See how it turns out. I think it's going to be great. See you in a couple hours. Okay, it's been about 3 hours. We're going to go ahead and take a look at how the jerky is turning out, and I think we'll probably have to rotate the trays, so let's go ahead and do that too. I always look at the bottom one first. It tends to... Yeah, bottom one's coming along pretty good. So let's go ahead and rotate these around and let them sit for another hour or so. You can smell the curry throughout the whole house, unfortunately. Yeah, those are coming along good. These will probably be done in about an hour. I could try them. Alright, here we go. Alright, 5 hours. I know some of this is done. We're going to take a look, give it a taste, and tell you what we think of this particular batch. Let's take a look. Pull off what we know is done and bag it. Let's go ahead and give this a try, see what we think. Looks pretty good. Very tender. Very nice. Curry is not overpowering. It's not terribly salty. It's very good. Very good. Not my favorite marinade. Rub, whatever. But pretty damn tasty. Alright, well, this batch is a wrap. Let's come back next episode. I think we're going to do an Old West batch. At least that's what it's called. Alright, we'll see you then.